Allô, bonjour. Soyez le bienvenu ici. Ça, c'est Fleur, comme vous savez déjà. Si c'est votre première fois de tomber sur cette chaîne, je suis ravi de vous avoir ici et je vous souhaite bienvenue. This is Fleur Orb, and if it's your first time of coming to this channel, I want to tell you a very big welcome. On a déjà commencé avec une série. We have begun with a series. Ça, c'est la série de la phonétique. Là, on a parlé déjà de quelques règles phonétiques. We have looked at some phonological rules in our last studies, but they want to go in depth. L'objectif aujourd'hui, c'est juste pour vous introduire au son de la langue française. The goal is to introduce you to the French language phonemes, surtout au niveau des voyelles. Donc, nous allons commencer avec les voyelles. We're going to begin with a vowel. Dans cette vidéo, nous allons non seulement introduire les sons, mais on va essayer de faire les critères des sons. Et nous ferons cela en écoutant quelques enregistrements comme il faut. Et puis, nous allons continuer à nous donner quelques explications. So we're going to be looking at this study, not just to show you what the sounds in French language look like, that is the phoneme, which was also called Alphabet Phonetic International, but we are going to be looking at how these things work. We're going to look at some recordings where the sounds are articulated, and by, we might try to see how, if we're going to be sleeping, we're going to be, whatever it is, just be rest assured you are in for a great stuff. So, as usual, we're going to share the screen. On va partager l'écran actuellement pour commencer la lecture. Ici, aujourd'hui, nous avons généralement le livre que nous utilisons. Ça, c'est la phonétique progressive. The textbook we are using for this series of phonetics is la phonétique progressive. We are starting with the vowels. The goal, once again, is to identify the phonemes or identify them. The next thing is to ensure that we actually not only know the phonemes, but we're able to use them. That is very, very vital. So we're going to be looking at all those in this particular study. So as we look at this, what we have in front of us, you want to take note of every sound you are going to hear. Like every sound matters. Chaque son de la langue française est très important. So we're going to be looking at that. You want to take note of them. It's important. We'll do that. On this note, I'm sharing the screen once again so we can begin now. We're going to listen to some recordings so that we can actually get the pronunciation. And then I'm going to continue with the commentary to talk about what is obtainable, what you need to do, and how you need to go about it. So first of all, let's begin now with what we call the recording. So we are having some interesting recordings once again to help guide us in this study. So you are listening to them, and then we'll come back now. So let's have it together now.
9. Son 9. I, P. Exercice 1. 1.
Il les dit. Now we're going to take it once again. I want you to take a look at the two phonemes we are dealing with. A and E. These are the first two phonemes. We're taking the phonemes in pairs. I will explain them, but let's listen to it once again so you can get the pronunciation. And then we're going to look at some extra examples that comes along with it. So having said that, I'm going to go back now to a particular recording we have in front of us here, recording 45. So let's have recording 45 one more time now.
Leçon 9. Prix, prêt. Exercice.
So I've seen for these first 2 years, what we just listen to is prix, prêt. This is prix, this is prêt. The sounds we are dealing with are sounds A and E rather and E. So we have E for prix, we have A for prêt. let's take more examples. Let's listen to some other examples now, and then we're going to explain further. Now we have this recording 45. Let's listen to it now once again.
Leçon 9. Prix, prêt. Exercice 1. 1,
Il les dit.
2,
Il les lit.
Okay.
3,
Il les dirige.
Okay.
4,
Il les finit.
So we've just listened to the recording, and we have seen these four sentences read out quite clear. Il les dit, il les lit, il les dirige, il les finit. As you look at these sentences that I read, you'll find out that they are in line with the exact phonemes we're looking at here. Once again, this is what we call oral vowels in French. Now, in French language generally, our phonemes, our sounds are divided into three categories. On a ce qu'on appelle les voyelles, les consonnes, les semi-voyelles, et les semi-consonnes. Now, let's look at this now, explanation of these three key things I just mentioned. Voyelles. Now, what are vowels? Les voyelles sont les sons produits par la vibration des cordes vocales. C'est-à-dire, les passent sans obstacle par la bouche. In other words, vowels are phonemes that are produced when there is a vibration in the vocal cord and the air passes through the mouth without any obstruction. Now, what are some of the characteristics of a vowel? You have it in front of you in your screen there. You see, number one, son tendu. Now, l'articulation implique une tension de muscles phonataires. You have les muscles restent bien ou placés lors de l'émission. Il n'y a pas de diphthongaison. Like, there's not like diphthong in French. Where I did French vowels. We don't have that in French. Like I said, we have 16 vowels, basically. And then these 16 vowels in French, some of them are kind of simple, others are a bit complex. So we have what we call voyelle simple, we have voyelle simple, oral simple, voyelle oral composé, and then we have voyelle nasal. So these are the various categorization of the French language vowels. And we're looking at the voyelle simple, we have E, A. These are the ones we are dealing with right now. And that is what you find with the recording we just listened to. I want to take us listen to the recording again, the first part of it, and then we're going to start going in details to touch on these two phonemes, their distinction, and how you can realize them in generally in words in French. So let's look at the recording one more time.
leçon 9. Prix, prêt. Exercice 1.
So I'm going to stop it now. You have listened, I've seen three, three. So I've seen three, we've seen three, three, three. Now, the key thing to note there is this phoneme, E. This is E, and then this is A. I'm going to read these four sentences now so that you can see how the sounds come out. We have J'ai perdu for the first song, ma force et ma vie. In J, you have A there, the second phoneme. In E-T, you have A again. In V, you have E. We have et mes amis et ma gaieté. I. Et. We have j'ai perdu. Et. We have fierté. Et. Again. We have qui faisait. I. Croire en mon génie. We have A and E. So let's look at the two phonemes in depth. For the first one, E. How do you realize this one in French? What gives you this particular phoneme in French? And how do you work with it? How do you go about it? How do you make this phoneme to actually work very well? Now, the first thing is to notice that this phoneme is produced at the front of the tongue. We have la langue est très en avant, it's the tip of the tongue. Now, number two, les lèvres sont tirées, that is, the lips are spread. Look at this picture here. You see this, the lip, this is a picture of the lip, it is spread. And number three, La bouche est fermée. When I say my mouth is closed, my lip is spread. That's how it is realized. So we have A still produced at the front of the tongue. Now, the lip is also spread like E, but the lip is a bit more open, as you can see from this diagram in front of you. Now, having looked at these two things, those of us in French phonetics in depth, we want to classify this particular E-sound. We will say c'est antérieur, that is the front of the tongue, antérieur. Now, we'll say this same phoneme is très fermé. Now, because the lip is spread, we're going to say for the third characteristics, this phoneme is called écarté, that is the spread. Now, the fourth characteristic is that this phoneme is oral. Is articulated without air passing through the nostril, the nasal cavity. So it's called phoneme oral. So we have phoneme anterior for this one, anterior. We have this same écarté, we have fermé au niveau de l'ouverture de la bouche, and then we have, of course, we have oral. Now, for the second one, the phoneme A, as you have it there, is still a front vowel. A. So we also call it anterior. Now, the lip is also spread. We call it what? Écarté. Now, the mouth is still closed, but it's not as tight as the other one. This other one is très fermé. You can see it. That is very close. While this one is just fermé, meaning close. So for this phoneme, we say c'est un son antérieur, écarté, fermé, and of course, oral. Now, these are the characteristics. As you can see, whereas both of them are front vowels, they are both spread, the lips are both spread, they are both oral. The difference is that this one is very closed, whereas this one is just a closed vowel. So, en français, généralement, il n'y a pas deux sons qui sont identiques. Il y a jamais des sons identiques. There is no identical sound in French. They must differ at a point. Now, the next thing we want to master, this is where it becomes very interesting for beginners. You are learning French, you're preparing for TCF, you're preparing for DAF, you are a student of French in secondary school. Pay attention now. We have this phoneme again, E. Now, for this phoneme E, there are four ways to realize it. The letter I will give you the phoneme. The letter I with associate complex phoneme. The letter I with tremor give you the phoneme, and then the letter Y. So these are the graphy that gives you the phoneme. So we have the example il, we have I, you have AI, and then you have cycle. So you find out for IE, we have to pronounce the I independently. As we go along the study of the phoneme, you're going to see quite a lot of reason why we have to do that. Now, the next one is very interesting. It's one of the sounds in French you will meet, especially when you're dealing with verbs. Now, let's look at it. How do you realize this phoneme A? What are the combination of letters? We call them graphy that gives you this phoneme. Now, before I delve into it, in French, this is how it works. We have phonemes, which is Alphabet Phonétique International, the phonetic alphabet. We have what we call the graphy, the combination of our letters of the alphabets, normal alphabets, that gives you the phoneme. And then what we call the orthograph, which is the word where those phonemes are located. So this is the son, this is the graphy, the second column is graphy, the third one is what? The orthograph. Words, example. So for A, when you have E with accent aigu, it gives you that phoneme. We have it in chanter. E with accent aigu, chanter. When you have a word that ends in ER, like all ER verbs in French, you have it that sound A. EZ gives you that sound A at the end of a word. You have EF, but the F is not pronounced, give it as sound, clave. You have ED as in pied. So you have chanter, you have chanter again, you have clave, you have pied. Now beyond that, when you have letter E, not followed by any other consonant, but double consonants, you have the E becoming A. Example is dessin, which is design. Now, when you have ES in monosyllabic words, like les, les, the articles, or you say they, or possessive pronoun, may, the plural of it, mes, monosyllabic words, the es there, is pronounced as A. Now, we also have AI at the end of a word in French. Si le mot se termine avec AI en français, à la fin, ça c'est la dernière syllabe. It is the last syllable of the word, the final syllable of the word. AI is pronounced as word A. Example, gay. Number 2, j'aimais. Number 3, here is j'aimerais. Now, most popular is the verb aller. We have it as j'ai. Now, we have A, Y together at the end of a word. You have it as, in between words, you have it as A. Example, payer, payer. So these are the ways of realizing this particular phoneme. So what we are going to do right now, we are going to play some few more recordings. We have seen the first one. I'm going to play it again with recording 45 now, and then we're going to come to another recording, and then we're going to play it together. So let's deal with the recording 45 right now, and I want you to look at the way those two phonemes E and A are pronounced in this recording.
Leçon 9.
Okay.
Ri, ré. Exercice 1. 1,
Il les dit.
Il est dit.
2,
Il les lit.
Il les lit.
3,
Il les dirige.
Il les dirige.
4,
Il les finit.
Il est fini. Now, you'll find out that for this particular recording we listen to right now, E is found in il, A is found in le, E again in D. So the same thing you have for the second sentence, you've had a li, le, il. Il les dirige. So you must master the most important things. These graphi, they are important to master them. So if you want to really grasp the French language. Now, having looked at two phonemes, there are 16 vowel sounds in French. I will take them in pairs. We have seen E and A. Let's go to the next one now. This is another phoneme with the one we have studied already. So we have seen phoneme E. Now we're coming to another phoneme. I'm going to allow you get the pronunciation again by playing the recording from the list I have over here with me. Now, I want you to listen to this recording and see how that other phoneme is pronounced, which is the third phoneme we're dealing with right about now. So let's listen to it now.
Il, elle.
Il, elle.
Exercice 1.
You're used to il already. The next one is e. So you have il, elle. So we have e and e as the phoneme. So let's take it now. We have e, that you know already. We have e, like the air you breathe. Just say air you breathe. Look at the examples we have here again. We have en avril, you see, en avril, ne te découvre pas d'un fil. En mai, fais ce qui te plaît. En mai, fais ce qui te plaît. En mai, fais ce qui te plaît. So you see a in the second sentence now. Let me describe the two phonemes like I did for the other one. For the E, we've already described E in earlier. Is front vowel, is spread, très fermé. Now, we are picking the second one, which we have not described, which is the third phoneme we are learning in this video. This is E. Now, la langue est très peu en avant. Is still at the front of the tongue. Now, what's the difference between E and E? We've seen E and A earlier. Now, les lèvres sont tirées. The lips are also still well spread. But if you find that, whereas for E, it is very close. In A, we looked at earlier, it is close. For A, the mouth is not closed. It's actually open. It's almost open. So we call it presque fermé. Presque ouverte, rather. Presque ouverte. So we call this kind of phoneme ouverte. Now, if I want to categorize this phoneme and give you the 4 criteria to judge this phoneme, number 1, we say are antérieur, un son antérieur is front of the tongue. Number 2, we are going to say écarté because the lips are also spread. Number 3, we say ouverte, niveau d'ouverture de la bouche. C'est un phonème ouverte, is open. Then, of course, it's an oral vowel. We're going to say oral. Having looked at that, we have seen how you get E. Now let's focus on how you get A. Now, the A is almost like the opposite of the A. We have seen for A initially. For A, whereas for A, you have E accent aigu. When you have E accent grave and E circumflex, it gives you A. Example, we have père. We have être. When you have EI, when you have AI, when you have E, followed by 1 or 2 consonants that are pronounced in the same syllable, we also have that particular phoneme, A. Example, the number 16. You have the verb faire. You have the verb again, mettre. Now, when you have E followed by double consonant in a monosyllabic word, you have A. Example is the personal pronoun elle. When you have AI followed by S, by T, or by E, AI followed by S, T, and E, we don't pronounce the last consonants in those ways. We pronounce those AI as what? A. Example, you have me, you have fe, you have re. So these are the graphy. That is the combination of letters that help you realize this particular phoneme. So in a nutshell, the E is derived from the A and also derived from the A. So having seen that, I want to play that recording once again. And so I want you to look at it, and then we're going to look at how it is pronounced. The first word, il, elle, and then we continue with our interaction.
Ton 10. Il, elle.
So we've seen it in il, elle. Now, let's go beyond just il and elle. Let's see the other sentences, these 6 sentences here. Let's look at these 6 sentences from the recording and how they were articulated. So your goal is to look for where we have and where you have e. And e. Those are the phonemes we are dealing with right now. Let's continue.
Elle.
Exercice 1. 1,
Il est très fier.
2,
Il est très bête.
3,
Il est très laid.
4,
elle est très
Elle est
riche.
très riche.
5,
Elle est très chic.
6,
Elle est très fine.
Okay. Now you see that all those graphy we looked at earlier before I play the recording again, you actually have each of those graphy reflected. So I'm going to take that recording one more time, then I'm going to go back to the graph and I'm going to explain them based on the information we have on those graphy that realizes the sound. So let's take it together now.
Exercice 1. Exercice 1. 1,
Il est très fier.
Il est très fier.
2,
Il est très bête.
Okay, let's continue.
3,
Il est très laid.
4,
Elle est très riche.
5,
Elle est très chic.
6,
Elle est très fine.
From what we've seen so far, you will understand and agree with me that E accent grave here is what? E. E accent circumflex here is pronounced as E. AI followed by this D silent consonant is pronounced as E. So every rule we've learned so far until this phoneme is concerned have been somewhat applied. So having looked at all these, we have successfully learned at least 3 phonemes, and we have looked at it in combination. So we have seen E, we have seen A, we have seen E. What we are going to do now, we have seen E and compared it with A and E. We want to pick E and A together and then do our comparison. And with that, we're going to look at some few videos, we're going to listen to some few recordings and see how that plays out so far. So let's look at those 2 phonemes, E and A, which we have looked at in comparison with the phoneme E. One more time, we are going to have another recording, which I believe you should be able to grasp the pronunciation properly. So try pronouncing as the recording goes on, because it's going to be a very, very vital tool for you along the way. So let's have the recording now.
Parler.
Let's take it again.
11. Parler, parler. Leçon 11. Parler, parler. Exercice 1.
So we've seen leçon 11. We saw parler, parler. So let me share the screen now so that you can have a visual of what we just pronounced, and then we'll take the recording again before we continue. Let's have the screen brought up now, and then we can continue.
Parler 11. Parler, parler. Exercice 1. 1.
L,
So we have seen the pronunciation again, parler, parler. Now, if you look at it very well, remember for the rules we learned, AI followed by T gives you E, have parler. E accent aigu, we said, gives you what? A. So you have parler. So we have the phoneme here as A and as E and A. We've already discussed to a great extent their positioning, their categorization. So we're going to read that. I'm going to read out these 4 sentences now that are underneath it, and then go over to play the recording, because it's the same interaction, the same description of the way they are realized. So we have à la claire fontaine. Claire, AI, followed by a vowel, a consonant, give us A. Fontaine, AI, give us what? A there. Mon allons promener. E-arrow, remember is the graphic, gives us what? A. Je trouvais. AI as the last syllable, giving us A. Then low, si, belle. E followed by double consonant, E. Those are the rules we have learned earlier. So we have so, baigner. We have ko, je me suis baigné. AI followed by consonant give us E, whereas E accent give us what? The A. Now, these are the rules down here, which we have looked at already. We have seen for A, we have seen for air, and the examples remain the same, so no need to go over it again. All we'll do now, want to listen to these recordings. We'll take 2 of them now. I'm going to play this 54 twice, and then I'll play 55 again, so you can look at how they are actually used. So let's go take the first one now.
Exercice 1. 1,
L, M, N, R,
R,
S,
S,
Z,
Z,
2,
B,
B,
C,
C,
D,
D,
G,
G,
P,
P,
T,
T,
V,
V,
W.
W.
3,
La SNCF.
La SNCF.
4,
Le TGV.
Le TGV.
5,
Des CD.
Des CD.
6,
Des DVD.
Des DVD. Now, from what you've just listened to, you see that even in reading the alphabets in French language, those phonemes A and E are used to read them. We have L, M, N, R, S, Z, E, B, C, D, G, P, T, V, W. That's A. Then now from the recording, it is now you see a combination, what we call a melange, a mix-up of both A and A. So with this video, with this recording, we have been able to establish a clear distinction between the A and the air. You see, air. My lip is more open when I say air, air. So you should know the difference. Let's play the recording one more time before we continue to the next one.
Leçon 11. Parler, parler. Exercice 1. 1,
L. M. N. R. S. Z.
2,
B. C. D. G. P. T. V. W.
3,
La SNCF.
4,
Le TGV.
5,
Des CD.
6,
Des DVD.
So it's been an interesting one, and you can see the distinction between both phonemes very clear, like the light of day, actually. But we are going to take another recording now to still buttress more on that distinction between the two phonemes. Remember, we're dealing with A and A. We have looked at E, A, A. Let's continue.
1,
J'étudiais. J'ai étudié.
2,
J'écoutais. J'ai écouté.
3,
J'essayais. J'ai essayé.
4,
J'échouais. J'ai échoué.
Very interesting. You're going to find that in this recording we just listened to, you have the first one, j'étudiais, A-I-S, j'étudiais. J'ai étudié, A-I-A, E as not you, A. We have for number two, j'écoutais, j'ai écouté. We have j'essayais, j'ai essayé. We have j'échouais, j'ai échoué. Actually, these are verbs in French, verb conjugation are the imperfect, call it imparfait, the imperfect, imparfait, and the passive composite, which is the past tense in French. So whether you are dealing with just normal alphabets, or you're dealing with verbs, or dealing with nouns, these phonemes are key if you're going to articulate properly in French. And I trust that we have mastered this theory so far. We are going to be looking at another phoneme in this same lesson. It's about 3 more or 4 to go. But let's see how far you will do with these. The next phoneme we're going to be dealing with, I've looked at E, A, and E to a large extent. We are going to be dealing basically with the fourth phoneme, which is A. Now we began with E. We came to A. We came to E. Now coming to A. You see, my mouth keeps getting wider. E, A, A. That's the difference. So whereas E is a very close phoneme, A is a closed vowel, E is an open vowel, A is a very open vowel. Those are the 4 degrees of categorization as far as the opening of the mouth is concerned. So we are going to deal with that right away, and I'm going to see, you're going to see how interesting it looks like. So once we've dealt with that, you would have touched those 4 categories of phonemes and would have mastered at least would have mastered 4 phonemes. So we have seen the categorization of those first 3. We have seen the examples, how they are realized. Now we're coming to the 4th phoneme. Now I'm going to play the recording as well as usual. So you will do well to listen. There's quite a lot of sentences we're going to look at there. Then I will come back after the recording, and of course, I'm going to give all the explanations that are needed, as I've always done to begin this particular study. So let's look at this next phoneme, A. We're going to be looking at this phoneme in conjunction with A. We're looking at A and A, 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 A. So we're looking at a closed vowel and a very open vowel. Let's see how it works as we run through this recording. So we're going to listen to the recording once again. Please pay attention and let's have fun with it.
112. Les là. Exercice 1. 1.
Bonjour.
Now I had to stop it. I want you to pick it once again. We have les, la. Listen to it once again.
Les là. Exercice.
So you see, les, la. Now let's share the screen now so that you can have a view of the words we are talking about and let it be more interesting. So let's have it now. So I'm going to be playing the recording once again. We're looking at lesson do's. We're looking at this phoneme, A. You have used to that one already. We're coming to the next one, this particular one, A. So listen to the recording one more time.
212. Les la.
Okay. So you see, we had le and la. Le, la. As usual, let me take this sentences underneath it to buttress the sounds, the phonemes. We have les forêts ont été les premiers temples de la divinité. So you see, we had A in LES in les forêts. We have été, we have A again. We have les, we have premier, we have temple, we have la divinité. We have et les hommes ont pris dans les forêts. La première idée de l'architecture. La première idée de l'architecture. Now, this is actually an essay from René de Chateaubriand, one of a very French popular writer. Now, let's look at this. We have this particular A, which we have analyzed already. Now, when you look at this phoneme, we are dealing with here, la langue centrale is still an anterior vowel, but it's close to the center of the mouth, but towards the front. Now, look at it again. Look at this picture to give you the description of the phoneme. Number one, the lips are spread. We call it lèvres légèrement tirées. And the mouth is what? Open, like really open. So we have it as ouverte, or you can say très ouverte. Très ouverte. So this phoneme we have for these criteria anterior and son anterior, we have écarté, of course. We have très ouverte, and then we have, of course, oral. These are. Now pay attention to this aspect. Look at this thing I'm highlighting. It's a la voyelle postérieure. This is an anterior vowel. This, when I say voyelle postérieure, we're dealing with this particular one here. The part turned à disparaître. There are actually two types of A in French. We have A anterior, then A posterior. But this A anterior, people use it most of the time, it kind of overshadow the A posterior. The only difference is that for this first one, A anterior is at the front, A posterior is at the back. So we're not going to be studying A posterior in this particular textbook. We'll just mention it. But to analyze it, where you have arrondi for anterior for this one, the first A there, for this one, we'll put posterior if it's the other one. So that is how it typically works. So that's just the difference, and I think you should know it. Now, let's look at the grapheme. What gives you that phoneme? Ah. Now, letter A on its own, letter A as on graph, letter A with circumflex gives you that phoneme A. We have sha, la, pat. Now, at other times, you might have the letter E followed by double M, especially when you are dealing with adverbs in French. Adverbs. Now we have an example here as prudemment. Prudemment. Now the word woman in French or wife, femme. We have solennel. Another one, double N again, solennel. Now, apart from the letter A with accent grave and circumflex and letter E followed by double consonant, the next way to realize this phoneme A is when you have it at the semi-vowel level, meaning you have letter O followed by I or followed by Y together. Example, OI, we have noir, noir, noir. We have wa, noir. We're going to deal more with that when it comes to the semi-vowel and the semi-consonant. All those are going to be covered. So, but right about now, I want you to take a look at some of the examples in the recording I want to play to familiarize yourself with the distinction between A and A. Mind you, I didn't touch A again because I've already explained it initially. So let's go down and see how it actually works in the examples. So let's take the recording 67 and then we go to the next phoneme that we have. So I'll play the recording now, and I trust you will have a wonderful time. So happy listening once again.
Dans 12. Les là.
Les là.
Exercice 1. 1,
Bonjour, mesdames. Bonjour, madame.
2,
Bonsoir, mesdames. Bonsoir, madame.
3,
Merci, mesdames. Merci, madame.
4,
Au revoir, mesdames. Au revoir, madame.
Selon l'enregistrement, on a déjà 4 exemples, 4 phrases émis. We have 4 sentences and we have different syllables in those sentences. Now, you're saying bonjour, mesdames. In this mesdames, es, remember, giving us a. Then the a you're giving us the a. Madame, mesdames, madame. Au revoir, mesdames. Au revoir, madame. So you should, as much as possible, if you have access to this textbook, you can go on Amazon and get a copy of it. Of course, it's very important. For students who already have a copy, you can actually go back and read more on it. It's so very, very, very interesting. So having looked at that, I want to conclude say that out of the 12 oral vowels in French, we have looked at 4 of them. And these are simple vowels. And these 4 of them, what we call les trapèzes vocaliques, that is, in the trapeze vocalique in the human mouth, they are anterior sound, number 1. Number 2, they are produced with the lip spread. Aside that, we also have other anterior sounds that are produced, but the lip is not spread. In other words, those lips, the lip is round, so we cannot call them écartés. We call them les sons arrondis. Les sons arrondis. And we're going to be looking at the first 2 of them. There are not too many, but we need to master them. So they are basically around 3 of, 3, I guess. One of them we have dealt with already. We call it caduc, choix. We have dealt with that one already, but we'll deal with it later as we go ahead in the study. But let's take the first one. I want to share my screen once again so you could see it and see what we are dealing with right now. So we're coming to the first 2 sounds that are not écartés, but they're also simple vowels. Simple vowels. They are not compound, they are not complex, but they are not, the lips are not spread, they are round. So we're taking it now in the chapter 13 of our first book, and let's see how far we can go with it. So I'm going to play the recording as usual, and I will expect you to pick the pronunciation of the phoneme before I come back and give my own commentary and then wrap up everything. And so in this recording, we're going to be looking at is vital. So once again, paying attention is very important. So let's have the recording now and then we'll continue.
Leçon 13. Notre, nôtre.
I want you to listen to these 2 examples again and I play it one more time.
Leçon 13. Notre, nôtre.
Now we have notre, nôtre. Notre, nôtre. Let's look at some few more things. On a-tu dit, du, rosignon et de la rose? On a-tu dit du Rossignol de son chant pour qui prend son vol, et qui s'oppose. Now, look at the picture in front of you. We have this phoneme, O. We have this phoneme as O. We have O, we have O. That's for that. Now, look at the lip, the way they spread. You see, this one is round. This is also very round. Let's pick them one after the other. La langue trépeau en arrière. Or, les lèvres arrondies, bouche, presse, ouverte. Now, when we look at air, the lip is almost open. Now, the same position you have for air is what you have for or. Is or is wider. When I say O is closer. The same position for A is what you have for what? O. So if I want to give the 4 criteria of this first phoneme, or, I will say number 1, voyez antérieur. Number 2, arrondi. Number 3, ouverte. Me ouverte, I say ouverte. Number 4, oral. For this second one, I'm going to say antérieur, of course, arrondi, fermé, and then oral. These are the 4 different criteria where these both sounds differ. Now let's look at the grapheme. How are these phonemes realized? What are the combination of letters, the combination of letters of the alphabets, not phonetic alphabet, that give us this particular phoneme? Let's begin with the second one, O. When you have EAU, AU, O in a word at the end of a word, we have O, letter O followed by a consonant that is not pronounced, or you have O plus Z, or O with a circumflex. All these letters in a word are pronounced as O. Let's look at the example. We have bowl, we have boss, we have matériaux, we have eau, we have oats, we have dough, we have dough, we have rose, we have coats. On the contrary, for all, when you have U plus M at the end of a word, it can give you that. Forum, forum, forum. That's a borrowed word because UM will give you a nasal word in French, but it's a borrowed word. Now we have letter O at the end of a word, followed by a consonant that is pronounced. It is pronounced as O. Example, donné. Now you can also have letter O followed by arrow. You know, as well, like in port, you have that as your O as well. So more examples will be given on that as we go ahead, but I want you to listen more to the recording and let's continue now.
Exercice 1. 1,
Votre chapeau est drôle.
Okay.
2,
Votre manteau est beau.
3,
Votre tricot est chaud.
Now, these are the 3 sentences we just looked at. Votre chapeau est drôle, votre manteau est beau, votre tricot est chaud. You'll find out that both phonemes are well articulated here as you listen to the recording. Let's take the next recording and see how it works in terms of articulating these phonemes. So we'll listen to the recording now as we continue.
Exercice 2. 1.
vos parents sont dans notre immeuble.
Vos parents sont dans notre immeuble.
2.
Vos gardiens sont dans notre escalier.
Vos gardiens sont dans notre escalier.
3.
Vos voisins sont dans notre entrée.
Vos voisins sont notre entrée.
4.
Vos ouvriers sont dans notre ascenseur.
Vos ouvriers sont notre ascenseur. So you see for all these phonemes, you will discover these sentences, both phonemes are veritably deployed. They are really deployed. Now we have seen that phoneme, those are anterior phonemes. We are going to take among the simple phoneme, the last simple phoneme before we end this video. We're going to do another one for the compound phonemes. Is another phoneme which we have met. So this will be the number 6 or 7 phoneme. Number 7 phoneme we are dealing with now, because which is by section 8, because we skip one that we talked about, we just mentioned as posterior, that's for R. Now let's come to another phoneme which is also very, very vital, and which I believe you also find very much interesting. So as we look at these two phonemes one more time, you are going to find that these ones we want to touch on right now, this next phoneme I want to deal with right now, we have seen O. We want to see something close to it now. So let's share the screen once again, and let's see how far you do with this. So we have it here. You can see the screen. I'm going there now to the next phoneme. All right. So listen to the recording once again before I continue. Now for this recording, I want you to try and look at how the next phoneme is pronounced. We already know about O, but this next one, how is it articulated? That is the bone of contention here, and that is the most important thing we want to deal with now. So let's listen to it now.
O, son 14. O, ou.
So we've seen fo, AUX, remember? And now I see oo. So you have O and U. These are the two phonemes. Let me read the sentences you have here now. You have, for example, il pleut, il mouille, c'est la fête à la grenouille. Il tombe de l'eau, c'est la fête aux escargots. We have seen this phoneme already, O. Now let's come to this other one. The last 7 phonemes we have seen so far, they've all been what we call, 6 we have seen so far, rather, 7, they've all been anterior. That is pronounced at the front of the tongue. Now, this next one is our concern, ou. Long, très en arrière, meaning it is pronounced at the back of the tongue. That is how it is pronounced. Now, if you look at your picture very well, it's also very round, so we'll call it arrondi. And then the mouth is also very close. Just like you have for E, you have U, E, U, E, U. So the mouth is the lips are very, very close. So we call it très fermé. So for this phoneme, the criteria are number 1, posterior, number 2, arrondi, number 3, très fermé, and number 4, of course, oral. This is very important to take note of. So having seen those criteria for this particular phoneme, you want to look at how they are realized. For O, we have seen that earlier. Let's look at U. Whereas letter O gives you O. For you to have that U, it must be a combination of letter O and U. Take, for example, you have OU together, OU here, OU with second place. So we have OU, it will not be O, it becomes U. So we have roots, we have U, we have GU, we have SU, SU. Now, there are words that are also borrowed from English. For example, food, pudding. So these are words where you have that. Now, I will continue with the recording, and I want you to pay keen attention so that we'll see the examples proper. And I will play another recording again. So let's have the recording right now.
Leçon 14. O. Ou.
Exercice 1. 1.
J'ai mal au coude.
2.
J'ai mal au pouce.
3.
J'ai mal au cou.
4.
J'ai mal au genou.
So you see, for these recordings you just listen to right now, you have, of course, j'ai mal au coude, j'ai mal au pouce, j'ai mal au cou, j'ai mal au genou. OU as OU, OU, O. So when you are reading in French and you see OU, make sure you pronounce it as OU. It's very, very important. Now let's take the next recording as we wrap up this particular section of our study of the French language simple vowel sounds. Let's have this next recording now.
Douze auberges.
Exercice 2. 1.
12 auberges.
2.
12 autobus.
3.
12 autoroutes.
4.
12 autorisations.
Good. So you find that from the same recording, the next one we listen to right now, you have the OU as OU. Every time you see OU together in a word, it is pronounced as OU in French. So these are the majorly the simple vowels in French. So we have seen 8 sounds. We have seen E. We saw A. We saw E. We saw A. And then the other A, which is 5. Then when I came to O, and U. So we are left with at least 4 more vowel sounds to complete the 12 oral vowels in French. But for this video, we'll look at the simple vowels, the 7 that we analyzed, and we mentioned the 8th one. So I would advise you to go back to your textbook if you have a copy of it. As a student, I want you to read, and you have the recordings as well. Of course, it's going to be wonderful. And so I believe you had a wonderful time. We're looking at 8 sounds. We have 4 more to go, which are very, very extensive. I'm going to look at those 4 in the next video, and then we're going to see how we're going to compare and contrast. Of course, we call them les voyelles orales composées. We see E and U together, the linkage. We're going to see after that, the next one is going to be the U and U together. Then we're going to see again the U and as a phoneme. Then we're going to see the next phoneme as O and together. We're going to see as well the U and together. We're going to also look at basically the and as phoneme together. Then these are compound phonemes. We'll now look at A and caduc. This is the 4th one we're going to look at. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with A and caduc. We're going to look at all these compound phonemes in the next video. before we go to the nasal vowels in French. Then when I come to consonants, we still have quite a lot of journey to go. But for now, once again, I want to appreciate you. Je te remercie d'être ici pour votre temps que tu as passé pour écouter à ce vidéo, pour apprendre les choses essentielles de la langue française. J'ai l'envie qu'on a déjà appris beaucoup de choses actuellement. Et on se verra dans le prochain vidéo. Pour le moment, pratiquez, continuez à étudier et on se verra. So thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. This has been a wonderful time having you here. For now, bye bye.